morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Pitch Chronicles, where fans become family. I am Uncle Tats. As always, here with Donald and Rubino. The Yankees have actually finally got a move done. We got our lefty back in Tim Hill, a pitcher out of the pen that we've been waiting for. They also made a minor league pitching addition. We'll get into that as well as the show progresses and what that could mean going forward. It's just a simple depth move, but it could be significant going forward as far as strength of the rotation. So the one thing that we've really been clamoring for is really getting a lefty arm in the pen to strengthen the bullpen on top of a very strong rotation. And Tim Hill, where it was rumored that he was looking for 2-3 years, we get him for 1 year. So it's low risk, high reward is how I looked at the signing and the contract. So it's something where you really, a lot of people looked at Tim Hill like kind of not the guy that was the go-to move. There were people that were not sure if they wanted to bring him back. Was it a flash in the pan? But when you have a guy that's got the resume he does, and the way that Matt Blake was able to really get him to having respectable numbers on the stat line at the end of the year, and let's also not forget the postseason that he had. He was very solid in the postseason for us. And when it comes to Yankees baseball, it's always about the postseason, and that's where Tim Hill really showed his value, his worth. Donald, how are you feeling that we actually got our lefty arm and that it is Tim Hill?
Solid move. I was wanting Tim Hill from the start. I think that he, as you say, Matt Blake really helped him turn over a new leaf, and I thought he was very solid. And it's the right first step. Also, for fans that are upset that we signed Cookie Carrasco on a minor league deal, I mean, you all need to reevaluate things to start arguing and complaining about, because at the end of the day, it diminishes the stuff that we genuinely have things to be mad about, which is like the third base situation. But
exactly.
You're being mad about picking up Cookie Carrasco in a minor league contract who gives you depth and a possibility of coming in as a spot starter, is nothing. That's nothing to complain about. I think that's fine. There's nothing to complain about there. Tim Hill, 1 year plus an option, no argument there. I think Brian Cashman, by and large, has had a solid offseason, man. I can't really complain much about what Brian Cashman's done with the, considering we're at this budget. I think that's a pretty decent land. There were other teams that are interested in him. The Dodgers wanted him, and other teams were interested in him too, for multiple years. So I think the Yankees did well to get him on a one. Finally get a lefty bullpen arm. There's some others that are available now that we might maybe pick up closer to March. But solid first start, no arguments, fine.
Yep. Rob, how you feeling?
I'm happy about it. I'm glad he's back. Got a lefty now. Hopefully get another one. They can go cheap for the second lefty if they want to. Maybe take a flyer on a guy like Rayleigh who's going to come back mid-season, a guy like Matzek. You don't have to spend too much for your second lefty. They didn't have to spend too much for Tim Hill. They got him for 2.5, something like that. So
just under 3, I believe.
Yeah, it doesn't really hurt your finances at all. You get a solid lefty, one of the top ground ball pitchers, which is going to benefit from your now improved infield defense, which hopefully adds a new third baseman soon. So it makes all the sense in the world. And now you can go get a second one, and now you can maybe move a couple of righties from your surplus, because they've got a ton of options in that bullpen that they can potentially move for a cheaper third baseman if they want to go that route. But the options are there now, and kind of like we expected, the moves are starting to trickle in as we get closer and closer. Pitchers are signing. Like the Tigers just got Flaherty back. Colin Bay just signed with the Twins yesterday, and then we got Hill. So you're going to start to see a lot more pitchers come off the board, which could lead to a Stroman trade sooner or later, and then maybe they could finally get their third baseman as we get a little bit closer to spring training. So I'm glad they took this first step, because it was just kind of like, what are they waiting for? Why are they waiting to get this lefty in there? And now they just really need one more and a third baseman. I think they're good to go. They can always go with the backup catcher if they want to, but they have some in-house options that can give that job to if they want to with Jackson and Escara. But yeah, I'm happy he's back. He was really good for us. He's a perfect example of the Matt Blake system that sometimes you can just find a diamond in the rough. Another man's trash could be someone's treasure. And Tim Hill was pretty bad last year when he came to us, and we turned him into treasure to a point where we were hoping he was pitching in Game 1 of the World Series, and he should have been pitching in Game 1 of the World Series. So I'm glad he's back. He said he wanted to come back and win a championship, and we want those guys on our team, guys that want to be here and finish the job. So I'm happy. It's a low-risk move. Anyone finding a reason to complain about it is just looking for things to complain about. And Donald's spot on about the Carrasco thing. It's a minor league deal. What are we doing? What are you complaining about? There's no guaranteed money. If he makes the team, he'll make like $2 million max. What are you complaining about? If Cookie Carrasco makes this team, are you mad? Are you that mad that we got him to a minor league contract for depth? I mean, Jesus Christ, people. You got to find something else to complain about.
Yeah, I can't remember the number off the top of my head. I know if he gets called up to the major leagues, there's there's a different salary for that. But it's I thought I saw that somewhere. So I'm not worried about Carrasco. I mean, here it is. It's a minor league piece, and what are we always saying? Pitching depth is sometimes what saves your season. Because if one guy, has to go out for, any type of strain or short term IL stint, it's always good to have somebody in your back pocket you can bring up that's also going to have the major league experience. And just kind of fill the gap until a player is healthy. So the Carrasco move, I thought was a smart move, especially it's not handcuffing us at all financially. So I just don't see where it's people are wasting their time complaining about a minor league move. I don't understand it. I never did. There may be players that are spring training invites. You're like, it just doesn't fit. But when it comes to pitching, it's always a fit. You always need more pitching. How many times have we seen seasons go through, and you're always going to have a situation when you're going to need to call a pitcher up for a spot start, a doubleheader, where you just need a little more depth. That's where having the excess pitching comes into your favor. So just and don't get so worked up over a minor league pitching signing. The big move is the Tim Hill move, because we would say we need a lefty out of the pen. I would like one more, but right now we have Tim Hill, and he knows the system. He knows how the Yankees operate. He knows the expectations. We saw in the postseason, he could handle the weight on his shoulders to pitch in a big spot. So I think that's where fans need to really take into account that the Yankees have made a lot of necessary moves. They're not just going to grab a headline. We said that, that was the thing we were worried about after we lost out on Soto, is they were just going to go making stupid moves just to grab the back page again. And they have not done that. They've been very calculated with the moves they've made. They've really taken the time to make sure that the players that they are bringing in are going to be a significant asset to the 2025 season. And the front office has continued to do that.
Yeah. And Acevedo, because Stroman's an $18.5 million sixth starter right now, that's why he's looking to trade him. You can find depth for a lot cheaper.
Yeah, that's a financial move.
Right. So if they wanted to, they can get another guy that's older on a minor league deal or even a major league deal, and a guy that may or may not have options, and it doesn't cost them $18.5 million. That's why they're trying to trade him away to a team that needs to add payroll, like the Marlins, like maybe Pittsburgh, a team like even the Athletics could still be looking to add some money. So that's why they're looking to trade Stroman, because right now he's your sixth best starting pitcher. That's how good our rotation is. Had we not signed Max Fried, we probably have Stroman penciled in as our number 4, number 5 guy. So, but they signed Max Fried, and once they did that, they had a surplus of starters. So they moved Nestor for Devin Williams, a necessary move, and they still had a surplus of starters because you still have Brew Baker, you still have Clayton Beater, Will Warren is still there, and now you've got Carrasco in case he does make the team. So there is more depth, and that right now you don't want to be paying $18.5 million to a 6 starter. That's why they're shopping
I think
Stroman.
that there's a good chance that contract is used to acquire a third baseman. I think Hal Steinbrenner's made it very clear that they don't want to go much above the 301. I think they're sitting about 304, something like that right now, 303, 304. So they are a little bit over the tax. So I think Hal really wants to get them at that threshold, thus move much of that money if they can to acquire a third baseman. That's basically the plan. Now, do I agree with the plan? Listen, it is what it is. Stroman could have been a useful 6th starter, but he never played a second in the playoffs. He was untrusted to even be anywhere near October. They didn't really want him to pitch towards the end of the year, so you don't want to pay someone $18 million for that. Seems like a good dude though, Stroman, but they need to move that contract.
Yeah, like you said, the first half with Stroman, he did have value in the rotation. Especially the games he had to pitch where Hill was trying to figure out what his where he was going to fit in and get his confidence up. We didn't have freaking Cole to start the season, so Stroman was a big part of the jump out of the gate that the Yankees got. I have I have nothing bad to say about Stroman. It's all financial. That's the only reason that we keep saying they got to move him. They got to move him. They got to move him. It's all financial. It's nothing to do with him as a pitcher. His second half numbers, it's less desirable than the first half. Which is why even if they do have to kind of squeeze him in here and there and try to get him moved to the deadline, you're also going to be able to move somebody that doesn't have a lot of innings under their arm from the first half of the season, which could, make him a little more inviting for other teams to bid on. But they have to make sure they have to free up the payroll. That's the only reason that we're moving Stroman. It's only a financial move.
So what are you suggesting? Keeping him potentially till the deadline?
If they can't move him now, there's nothing stopping he could still hold trade value because he's not going to have a lot of innings under his arm in the first half,
and that would potentially kill his vesting option as well. So yeah, I guess. But what are they going to do? Use him out of the bullpen? His stuff isn't bullpen material though. We saw that last year.
In the playoffs, out of the bullpen. So
they should have trusted him in the playoffs before they went to some other guys. Like I don't know. It just seems like the writing's on the wall. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I don't know where they're going to trade him. I still think it makes too much sense to go trade for Arenado, but now we're hearing the Red Sox are having those conversations again. So while he's having a resurgence in Boston, I'm going to watch DJ LeMahieu hitting to double plays all day. So I don't know. It just feels like that trade should be happening right now. A trade like that, or else they just move him to clear some money and then go get a third baseman. They don't have to trade him for a third baseman, but I see what Donald's saying. If the money works out, if this was like the NBA where the finances had to match, then you can make something like that happen. But there's several teams that need pitching that need to add payroll. I just feel like I'm sorry, a big trade went down in the NBA again. I'm thinking why haven't they moved them yet? Like TC is saying, like they should have moved them by now. I feel like there's a team that should be. Ask Kashmir. I'll go talk to Kashmir about it and see why they haven't moved Marcus Stroman. But I think it's going to be coming soon.
Stroman make too much sense. I really do. I think
the Padres are trying to shed money. That's why I don't really feel like that. Unless we got like Wandy with them or one of their lefties. Like if we took back Wandy with Arias, the money might work out there.
I just think it makes it's almost too obvious, really, because they need to. I think that's a deal that should be made personally, but we're going to go back down to that rabbit hole of third baseman again, and we have done so every episode. But Yeah, I think Carrasco's fine, and I think Tim Hill's a really good pickup. I have no issue with it. And to be honest, I think the reason why Stroman hasn't been traded yet is simply because of the amount of money that the Yankees are going to have to swallow.
Yeah.
In the deal, and I think that's why it's not been done yet. Because let's face it, if you're the opposition GM and Brian Cashman's contacting you going, do you want Marcus Stroman? And you take on all of his contract or even 90% of it, then you should fire yourself because the Yankees are desperate, right? And no matter what Aaron Boone says, no matter what Aaron Boone says about Stroman having a big part to play this year and all this stuff, no, the Yankees are desperate to get rid of him. They're desperate to move that salary to get under the 301. It's patently obvious. So, if you're the other GM, are you going to really want to swallow much of that money? No. If you're going to be like, oh, well, listen, we'll take him, but you have to eat 70% of it. And so that's the reason why it's not gone down yet. Because there will be teams that'll take him for pennies on the dollar. But the Yankees are trying to move as much of his salary as possible in order to free up room to address other needs and get under the 301. That's why it's not been done yet. It's not a rush, and I really think that Brian Cashman is waiting till the prices drop. Perhaps he's also got an eye on third base, and he's waiting for a trade to work with, maybe a 3-team trade, something like that. But he is waiting for some of these prices to drop. That's why I don't think we've added a third baseman / moved Stroman yet. But that's where it is. That is where it is. That's where we're at. And it's just a long off season. And
too long.
Fans can be forgiven for being kind of exhausted by it because it's really draining where there's a long distance between transactions, and it's something that really needs to be cleared up within baseball for 2026 when they finally do sit down. But as of right now, it's a long, exhausting offseason. But hey, we finally got some decent moves to talk about, and I'm fairly happy with them. There's no complaints there.
Yeah, and before we go any further, I just want to give a shout out to everybody that's hanging out with us in the chat. Appreciate you all. Make sure you hit that like button. Share this out. If you are new and you want to join the chat, you're listening in, just hop over on YouTube, hit that sub button, and join the conversation with the fine people in the family. So, good morning, John the Beagle Dad, Acevedo, TC, Razio the Great, Marshall Brown, you have Jason from 161, Jonathan, you have Dev Finch, FJ. Appreciate everybody that hangs out with us. Cold Italian Pizza, one of the more fun names to say. We got Ken and Jake Boss hanging out with us this morning. I do want to pull up this comment here. We got Anthony Manzano. Welcome to the family. So, hi, fellas. I'm wondering, even with him coming back off of Tommy John surgery, would you guys still trade for Sandy Alcantara before spring training? Rob, do you think that this, because we were saying with the Marlins, is this a move that you would make?
No, we don't really need the pitching right now. We don't need a pitcher like that, I should say. If trying to move a guy like Stroman, and Alcantara's making like 15 or something like that, so I don't think they're going to make that move, especially with it coming back from injury. I feel like they're going to trade him, which is another testament to how poorly run that organization is, because he's like the only contract they have that's not arbitration or before arbitration. But he will be traded at some point, maybe by the deadline, because teams are going to want to see how healthy he is. He is just coming back. He's a great pitcher when he's healthy. He's a guy that, under different circumstances, I'd probably be begging to trade for because he's pretty affordable considering what guys with his caliber stuff are making right now. But considering we have Cole and Rodon and now Fried, Heel, Schmidt, I just don't really see the need for him, especially coming back from injury. Now, if we never got Fried and we were maybe moving Stroman for him or something like that, I don't know why the Marlins would do it, but then I'd probably sign up for it.
Yeah, Alcantara is a pitcher that we talked about a lot before he got hurt. It was really would have been a good add to the rotation a year or so ago. But at this point with the injury, I just don't see where it fits into the rotation. I really don't. So if we're gonna, we might as well at that point, money aside, we already have Stroman. So why would we need somebody that we're going to use once in a while? Our rotation's pretty much set. So I don't see where that would be a fit. Donald, what do you think?
Yeah, there's nothing further to add to that.
No fit.
Rob's broke it down perfectly. Let's move on.
Yep. Yeah, no, I'm not moving on from Clark Acevedo. It's no. I really like Clark in this rotation. I think he's for a guy that's looking to be our number 5 guy, he's so above average of everybody else's 5th starter. And it's really a strength to the rotation. So I'm not dismantling that. I'd rather keep Clark.
Unless he was involved for like a true ace or something like that, or like a really good number 2. But we don't even need a number 2 or number 3 guy. We have Heel and Rodon, so I don't see why trading Schmidt right now makes sense. Him for 2 more years under contract or 3 more years as a number 5 starter is brilliant.
Yeah. It just makes it's such a strength to the rotation. That's why it would have to really be somebody of significance that's going to have like really an impact. I know he brought up the name Cease in a trade with Clark. I don't even know if I would do that.
Nah, we missed the chance to get Cease last year.
Yeah.
Damn, Rob, is that the gardeners outside? I can hear it, bro. I'm like, damn, what is happening out there? That's the biggest lawnmower in the world. I can hear it from
I just look. I'd rather just rather than keep trying to pull moves out of the air. It's when you look at what the Yankees have been able to do. I would have to say, post Soto from the offseason, I think Cashman and the Yankees have really. I think they've done a really good job. And I think that's kind of been the theme that they've been sticking to this whole offseason. Rather than just pulling moves out of thin air, they're making sure that if they're going to bring somebody in, it's going to be somebody that's going to have a positive impact on the club. Whether it's on the defensive end, the depth end on pitching, a lefty out of the pen like you just signed Tim Hill. And so I don't want to get too crazy now going because now we're like, well, we made this move and we're always waiting to say what's next. The only player, the only position that we should really be dialing in on right now is the third baseman. Once that's done, then you can play MLB The Show and make different moves, that you want to make, just because you want to make them. And until then, right now it's just third baseman, and that takes you to the regular season. That gets you to the spring feeling a lot more confident.
Yeah, I mean the roster's more or less complete once we acquire this third baseman. So let's just hope that it gets done. Let's get to the next talking point, Tats.
Yes. Now, Boone is going to be. This is his last year on his contract, and they've already been talking about getting to the World Series last year. Does that warrant him getting an extension in this season? I say no, right? But to be fair to the other argument, you also have to think he's never had a losing season. He has got managed the Yankees back to a postseason in the World Series, and this past postseason, before getting to the World Series, we were saying was probably his best managed. The most he's shown us as a manager. He was making a lot of the right moves. I still think that the way that he did fall apart in the World Series, I think that cost him his job. I don't think he's going to get extended after this year. I don't see it. I don't want it. We need a new voice. It's time to move on. especially with the next crop of youth coming up. I think that Boone's time. I think his time has passed.
You think they're going to get rid of him?
I think they're going to move on from him. I do.
So, hold on. Hal Steinbrenner is already talking about extending him, and you think they want to get rid of him.
No, I want him gone.
But you just said you think they're going to move on.
It all depends on the season. I don't think they're going to give an extension in the middle of the year. That's not their style.
They're talking about doing it before the spring. I mean, they might do it tomorrow for all we know.
The tax is insane. I know. Believe me, I'm very much crazy. I know that, but I don't.
I think they already got it done. I just think they're waiting to
think?
announce it. I think so. I'm trying to figure out where your mindset is because I think him making it to the World Series, personally, I think they should give it the year and see how do you do with the pressure of a 1-year deal because that can really tell you a lot about a coach. Although Donald made a good point saying it takes a lot of pressure off of the coach to know that he's got another year after this or another couple of years. But I kind of want to see what he's like with that pressure added on to him. And if they give him full reign and don't get into his ear with the analytics and stuff like they usually do. But they love him. They love Aaron Boone. The players love Aaron Boone. And you know what? Last year, I think was his best season. I know the World Series wasn't the best job that he's had, but overall, you combine the regular season and the playoffs, I can't really say he did a bad job. I think 2023, I earned a lot more respect for him as well because he took a pretty terrible team and somehow got that team to not finish below 500. I give him a lot of credit for that. So, look, I'm not his biggest fan in the world, but I don't think the Yankees are ready to move on from him. They love him, and the players love him. And thank God those Gardeners are gone so I can talk now. But they love him. I think they're gonna work on it sooner than later, and it wouldn't shock me if they announce it before spring training starts. The players love this guy, and the organization loves this guy. He does exactly what they want when they want. He says what they want when they want him to say it. He's a perfect company guy. That's what he is, and they're gonna keep him. He's not the worst manager in the world, and I can't think of a person right now that I would say replace Boone with this guy, and we're gonna go win a championship. So. It's not Aaron Boone's fault that Cole didn't cover first and Judge dropped the ball in center field, but
Judge definitely, but the lack of fundamentals is Aaron.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's also Cole and Rizzo. Like you would expect those two veterans of the game to know what to do there. But it is his fault that Nestor was pitching.
Issue, man. It was a season-long
issue. You're right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying like I can't be like, damn it, Aaron Boone. How could Cole not go cover first? Garrett Cole should know and Rizzo should know. But you can definitely point game one to Aaron Boone. Why is Nestor Cortez pitching in that spot? So I don't want to keep going down that same nonsense from the World Series, but again, he's going to be back next year. I think it's a foregone conclusion. The fact that Hal said it, they're already talking extension with him, or they're going to talk extension with him, the writing's on the wall. He's going to be back.
Yeah, I wish he never said that. I really do. Like I said, and to your point, no, I don't know who would jump in. And what's going on, Mr. Barnes? How you been, bro? I don't know who would be the next guy. I just don't. I don't have faith in Boone anymore. I really don't. When he manages well, I'm gonna give him his credit for it. I'm not gonna be a dick about it. But he's not somebody I'm going, man, thank God we got Aaron Boone as our manager. He can't hold a candle to guys, in the division like Cash and Cora. He looks like they make him look like he doesn't even know what he's doing. But there are no guys like that are going to be available. But sometimes you go tired of the same bullshit. It's right in front of us. It's around the corner. Savage is in the box. All the little gimmicks that he's had. His notebook of one-liners to kind of feed bullshit to the fans of why things didn't go the Yankees' way. That's where I'm hoping that they're not able to come to an agreement and they move on.
That sounds like fantasy land there, Tatsy.
Oh, it's definitely fantasy land.
So do you think he's going to be back, or so? Because you said you think they're going to get rid of him, so is that just more like your wish that he's not back?
That's my wish list.
Okay,
I know, yeah, because he is a company man. He's gonna tell everybody what they want to hear. He's not gonna. The players love him because they're not held accountable for anything. Unless you're Gleyber Torres, you get pulled for one game, but you're still up to the same bullshit. So that didn't fix anything. They still can't run the bases. He still has freaking. I don't even want to mention his name. The third base coach. He still has his job. So there's, it's really an accountability thing.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a pretty interesting thing to see a lot of his understudies go to other teams and find success. So, look at Mendoza.
Yep.
With the Mets. So yeah, I don't know. I can't see an option. I don't even think Ausmus would be better than him. Ausmus failed at his last job. I don't think. I just don't think it's a
job. You had a couple of good seasons in Detroit.
Yeah, but at the last few years, what do they do? So I don't know. I don't think that he's an improvement over Boone because we wouldn't know, and I don't think the team wants to do that. If there was talk that they were going to let him,
that's the discussion.
Yeah,
I mean, we can't discuss what we don't know, but we do know is that the Yankees will not move on from Aaron Boone because listen, here's it's a nuanced discussion, right? And I'm coming from a place where I've been wanting Aaron Boone gone for a number of years. However, I actually do agree that I think probably last season was his best managed season. However, there was also, let's not forget, there was also that long stretch in the summer where despite having Judge and Cole and Soto and all this stuff, they still went on an unbelievably bad run. And it once again prompted Aaron Boone to force out the phony banging on the table. It's right there in front of us, around the table, around the corner, all that stuff. So we get that. We get it. It is what it is. Do I think he's the greatest manager in the world? No, I don't. Do I think he's a great guy? Yes, I do. Do the players love him? Yes, they do. Unequivocally love him. They absolutely love him. And guess who's the most important person in the Yankee organization? Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is friends with Aaron Boone. Aaron Judge is in the ear of Hal Steinbrenner. I don't like it, but that's the reality of this organization. Aaron Judge is in the ear of Hal Steinbrenner, so what Aaron Judge says more or less goes. If Aaron Judge wants to keep Anthony Rizzo, he stays. If Aaron Judge doesn't want DJ LeMahieu DFA'd, he stays. So Aaron Judge has a lot of say in the organization. So I think in the past where maybe the Yankees would have considered looking at Aaron Boone's job, Aaron Boone has gone to bat for him because he absolutely loves the guy. So there's nothing that's going to change there. And this is the way that the organization is now. Now, do I like it? No, I don't, but it's not up to me. It's the way that this organization is being run now. And for old school fans or for fans that like a manager that had a little bit more authority and a manager that liked to, make managerial decisions, smart managerial decisions with his gut, then yeah, you're not going to like this. If you like a manager that's going to sit down and roast players for underperforming, yeah, this is not going to be the move for you. If you want a manager that's going to mastermind the World Series win, then yeah, this move isn't for you. But the Yankees aren't about that anymore. They never have been since 2017. And that's just where we're at now. It's very much in line with the way, society is now. They like soft, friendly things. And Aaron Boone is all of that. And Aaron Boone cares about you. And Aaron Boone cares about who you are as a person. And Aaron Boone will sit down and talk to you and all that stuff. And that, for whatever reason, is what is looked at in the modern manager, modern coach these days. It's a big thing. So that's what they like. That's what organizations like. They like a manager that's going to sit down and talk to you about your family and who you are as a person and what's going on behind the scenes and are you going to be okay? All this stuff. And listen, is that me? No, but I make no apologies that I am who I am. I'm a passionate guy and I shoot from the hip and that kind of stuff. But that's not the way that modern organizations are approached these days. They like a manager that's more kind of soft on guys. I don't think Aaron Boone is a particularly good strategist. I know that Aaron Boone isn't particularly good at improving players because there's absolutely no evidence that happens. And he's not a type where like he's an Alex Cora where he's going to have his guys do drills hours before the game and get them completely lockstep with each other as to what base to throw, who the cutoff man is, all these fundamental issues, right? That's why the Yankees got laughed out the building by the Dodgers. These are all things that Aaron Boone doesn't do, right? Now, do I like that? No, I freaking hate it. But again, it's not up to me. The Yankees are looking at the broader picture. He is the company guy. He is the perfect mouthpiece for what the Yankee organization is now. He defends everything that needs to be defended, and he defends his players, and he loves his players, and the organization is a big supporter of him. And by and large, the results are above average with Aaron Boone. You know what I'm saying? And they're fine. He does the minimum, and that is what it is. He's fine. He's fine. Listen, I would like to move on from him, but it's not going to happen. I have to just pick my battles now. I don't hate the guy, not by a long stretch. And in fact, I do think he's improving as a manager. If I was to choose when he should have lost his job, it would have been when he showed the Red Sox video as a motivational piece. And I'm hearing a lot of feedback, but you're liking a lot.
The dog is dreaming, so she's making little noises.
All right, could you mute it? Could you mute your mic? It's distracting me. So as I was saying, that was the time to fire him. After he got swept in the ALCS, he made a ton of bad moves, and that was the time to move on from him. They didn't do it because, again, it's all about his relationship with the players and all this stuff, and it is what it is. At this point, not really anything to fire him over. He got us to a World Series. And you know how Hal Steinbrenner views the playoffs. He views it as a crapshoot. I mean, that's just how he basically explained what was going to happen with the Dodgers this year. He said, injuries are going to have a big part to play with it. And hey, you never know what's going to happen in the playoffs. Right? So that basically says that's where House treats the playoffs. The playoffs are not, you must make a World Series or you must make a deep run anymore. No, he just wants them to make the playoffs because the rest is a crapshoot. That's the organizational philosophy. So if Aaron Boone keeps getting you in the playoffs, then you're going to keep getting Aaron Boone. And it's as simple as that. It is what it is. As a fan, I'm just learning to try and get used to the modern times. If I was to choose a manager, I'd probably more like the football coach type of manager. I like those type of guys. I like guys that have a bit of fire, or I like guys that are like Alex Cora, someone that's a really good strategist and someone with a little bit more fire. I like those guys, but the Yankees don't want those guys.
Yeah,
they have a very set structure. They very much want Brian Cashman front and center of the decisions, and then there's the analytics team, and then you want a manager that's gonna take in all that information and relay it in a family-friendly way to these players. And and Aaron Boone is perfect for that. He is absolutely perfect at that, and that's where he excels at his job, and that's all that the Yankees care about at this point. If Aaron Judge is happy, then I'm sorry, but then the Yankees are happy. This is not, as I said before, it's not your father's Yankees where there was a very set structure where the owner runs the show and the owner sets expectations, and it's a very clear direction where the organization is. That doesn't exist anymore. Hal is, I wouldn't say he's an absentee owner. He's not that, but he's not locked in on the day to day. And he has definitely limited expectations. And it's more about kind of a family friendly atmosphere. It's not about World Series anymore. And it sucks for me as a fan, that's for sure. But it's in line with the way we are as a society these days.
Yeah, and it's I also want to say what's up going on. The Truth always in the chat. Truth, I haven't seen you in a long time. Hope all is well by you. What's going on, D-Rod? TC also has joined the chat. Now to switch it up just a little bit with Boone. I mean, so do you feel like the front office, or do we feel that the front office has given him to this point a roster that he can succeed again with, not having Soto in the lineup? I don't, I want to know what you think on it. Are the Yankees doing enough for Boone to succeed?
Short answer, yes. He still has the best player in baseball. He still has one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's got arguably the best pitching staff in general, one of the top in the game. I mean, get him a third baseman, and there's really no excuse. That's the only thing you can say he doesn't have right now is a real third baseman. I know he might try and tell you, DJ and Ozzy, but no, if we get him a real third baseman like an Arenado or something, then you can easily say this roster as a whole is probably the best he's had. And last year his roster was pretty damn good. But you look at this team with everyone being in position, the best rotation he's had, probably the best bullpen he's had because he's got a closer now and a really good setup, man. He's got that really good back end of the bullpen. He's got a lefty. Hopefully he gets another. I can't say that he doesn't have the best. It's hard for me to say that he doesn't have the best roster that he's ever had. So he obviously doesn't have a Juan Soto, but he's got everyone in position. There should not be as many defensive gaps. If there is, then we got a real issue here. And hopefully the base running is cleaned up. I think they have. I mean, they're kind of maybe one or two moves away from this being the most complete roster top to bottom he's ever had. Is it the best in terms of like the talent? Like, no, obviously you don't have a Juan Soto, but it's complete. So I don't think there's any excuse. If he doesn't succeed with this roster, then that's why I'm like, I don't want them to give that extension. I'd rather them see what he can do with that pressure of the 1 year left. Then that can answer a lot of questions. But yeah, this roster is complete, almost complete. It's like 95% done in my opinion.
It's definitely, I think, like we've been saying, I think fundamentally this is the best team he's had. There should be no reason why they can't have, I think we're definitely going to be able to avoid the August that we had last year. I don't see that happening with this group. I think they're more fundamentally strong. So you're not going to have these games where they're just letting it slip through their fingers. Obviously, nobody, they're not going to be perfect players, but they're going to be as close to what we've had. Especially, if they've set themselves up where players are going to be actually playing their right position. Let's start there. Because that was the big problem with everybody playing in a position they've never done before. Some were successful at it, some weren't. But I think that's where the Yankees are going to have a much stronger year, and it's going to make Boone look a lot better.
I don't know. I need to see how it's going to play out on the field. I don't know how this lineup's going to play. I think the pitching is going to be good, and I think the bullpen is going to be good, and I think the defense is going to be good. I don't know how the lineup's going to play. I said before I don't like the lineup. I don't love it, but maybe it'll surprise me. We'll see. I need to see like half the lineup have better years than they did last year in order for me to feel confident about is this the best roster he's managed and all that stuff, because he's had some very good rosters. And in fact, there was a couple of times early on in his tenure where you could argue that the Yankees had the best team in the game. When they just acquired Big G, and he had G and Judge, and he had a bit of a beast of a team, and they still didn't go anywhere. So, he added the best hitter in the game last year, and they still didn't reach the promised land. So, I'm not going to make any big proclamations that this is the best team he's ever had and all that stuff. He's had some very good teams. He's had some very, very good teams. All I'll say is I think Aaron Boone's a better manager than he was when he first was hired. I think he's doing things a little better. What I'll say to his benefit is I think that it's a credit to him that he's managed to stay pretty even despite some incredible stresses. He manages to stay quite even and upbeat and keeps the locker room happy and stuff like that. That's not the easiest thing to do in New York, so I'll give him that, because the city could chew you up, and he's done well to avoid that happening. And I think that the way that he managed Gleyber Torres was good last year. In fact, I think that's something that he could learn from moving forward. If anyone ever pisses around in the field anymore, I'm hoping that Aaron Boone can channel what he did last year and be accountable for it, because I think this team will benefit from more accountability. I'm hoping that's something that Aaron Boone's learned from, because Gleyber Torres was a much better player after you sat Gleyber Torres for that 24 hours. Now, you could also argue, is that necessarily fair? Because Gleyber was far from the only person that dogged it last year. There was a handful of guys that dogged it. Verdugo openly admitted that he dogged it one night. Grisham didn't even bother walking to a pop-up that was in front of him. So there are things where you'd be like, is he just kind of making an example out of him, where he should probably be a little bit just tougher in general? But it is what it is. It's Aaron Boone, man. I can't ask him to be a different person than he already is. The way I would have done it is I would have given him an extra 1 year on top of this one. So he's not a lame duck manager, but there's no long-term commitment. So that still, if this goes wrong this year, then it's easy to move on from. But I mean, I would understand that. Any more than that, and I would be pretty annoyed, because let's be honest here. What kind of how would I put this? What kind of a statement does that say to the league? The Yankees got embarrassed in the World Series, and they're trying to talk about a big extension for the manager. I don't think that that's a great look.
It's almost like accepting failure.
Yeah, it's just not a great look. I don't think it's a good look. Hal's pretty obvious that he wasn't too happy with how they played. So why are you then extending the manager who had a big part to play into how badly they played? Whether it's his fault or not, and I don't really put much of the World Series on him. I think that he made some wrong moves, very clearly wrong moves. But I think there were bigger issues than that. But it's still not a great look. And as John the Beagle Dad says, it's an insult to Yankee tradition. It is, to some extent. You don't really want to be sitting talking about a big extension after what I would categorize as a failure in the playoffs. So I don't think I don't think that's something that's worth an extension. If you want to give him a 1 year just to avoid the lame duck thing, but at the end of the day, he still needs to prove himself, and that should always be the case. But what I will say again, to his benefit, is that I don't necessarily think he is the problem anymore. I think it's almost like there were a couple of years where he was, I think, but now I think it's more of an organizational thing. I think it's more of an organizational thing. I think the bigger issues are the Yankees standing in terms of why are they so content to be like the third wheel behind the Mets and the Dodgers now, and why are they kind of so content with not going all in anymore? I think those things are more clear issues. Why is the organizational structure so bad where a player has the ear of ownership? That kind of stuff. I think those are bigger issues than Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone is just another cog to it. He's just another spoke to the wheel of a bicycle. I think he is just part of it, but I don't think he's the issue anymore.
Yeah, and I think D-Rod's also on something adding to the discussion with with the analytic nerds, and all the analytics team, behind that works with them, also kind of, maybe not giving Boone the best advice, rather than Boone, managing more with his gut and experience. When he has managed on his own, we've seen the success. What's going on, Rob?
What's wrong with? Why do we got to keep calling them nerds? What is this? A 1980s freaking bully movie? You nerd! Like, come on. They're analytics guys, and the sport is run by it. Enough with the nerd stuff. Like, come on, man. Let these. There's too many of them. I'll tell you that much. But like, there's teams. The Dodgers have a great analytical team, and look what they're doing. Are they nerds? Like, come on. Enough with this.
Well, yeah, the Yankees' analytics system is a problem.
Yeah,
it's been a problem with Mike Fishman. I mean, I remember Mike Fishman was gonna get like arbiters to come in and look at their analytics team. Someone that he hired, as if anything's gonna happen with that. The Yankees have an issue there. So the Yankees' analytics problem is an issue. They don't do it as well as other organizations do.
Yeah, I'm complaining about the 80s, John. I don't like the 80s. There you go. I just think the word nerd is annoying because everyone's blaming it's the nerd's fault, but these guys run the sport now. So I'm just saying that baseball is run, all of sports is run by analytics. If we think about it, every sport takes those analytics. They use them to evaluate players. So I'm just saying the word. I'm not saying the Yankees' analytical team is good because there are too many of them, and Fishman's a lead cause for a lot of these problems. I'm just saying the word nerd is annoying because everyone's pointing the finger at those guys when a lot of other teams do it better. So I'm just saying, point the finger at Fishman, call him an asshole or something. That's a better word for it.
Fair enough. No, it's no. I get what you say. I should watch my my words as well. Sitting here, but no, I do think that it gets out of.
Oh, you're fine. Let's pick up on Reggio's comment. I like this.
All right.
Hal doesn't actually want to go through finding a new manager. That's too much risk for not enough reward. Dude, that is a brilliant comment, and that is spot on. And that's another thing. As I'm talking about, the bigger issue is the organization as a whole, and it's fronted by Hal Steinbrenner. Hal Steinbrenner doesn't want to go through a whole process of finding a new analytics team. He doesn't want to go through the process of finding a new manager. He doesn't want to go through the process of looking at the GM's performance. Now, luckily, Brian Cashman has redeemed himself lately. I think he's done a fairly decent job lately. But he does not want to go through a whole managerial search. He doesn't want to look at the real issues as to why the Yankees are not able to be the cream of the crop anymore, despite being the most valuable franchise in the sport, despite earning more money than every other organization in the sport. He doesn't want to look at those issues. As Razil points out, it's almost like too much risk for not enough reward. Because if the Yankees only view the playoffs as a crapshoot, why change anything at all? Because the Yankees make the playoffs, and it's an extended playoff. So even if you have a kind of a mid-year, you could still likely take the second wild card spot. And in the Yankees' case, they view that as a good year. And that's the truth. That's where the organization has changed now. That's where the structure has changed. It's not a clear, definitive operation going, we are trying to win a championship. This is the moves that we're going to take to get there. If the Yankees get there, great. If not, then there's excuses built in. There's the wind, and then there's injuries. And then there'll be other kind of excuses thrown in as well if the Yankees don't make the playoffs, and then that gives them an excuse to keep doing what they've been doing for years. They're very satisfied. They're a very self-satisfied organization. Do I agree with it? Absolutely not. And I will keep fighting against it because the Yankees need to be held to a higher standard. But that's where we're at as an organization. That's why Aaron Boone is no longer the problem. In fact, I don't even think he's in the top 2 or 3 problems anymore. And as Alex from Big Blue in the Bronx sub up to his channel, looking forward to catching up with him and telling me about his trip to Alabama so that we Giant fans know exactly what's going to be happening with our process. But salute to you, man, and sub up to his channel. But yeah, back to where I was. This is an organizational thing. Aaron Boone's just a part of it. The bigger issues is coming from ownership. And I'll make it very, very clear.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest issue is their complacency and lack of accountability. And those are things that with the properly constructed roster can kind of change the mindset. But I think no, is our lineup striking fear into anybody at this point as of today? Not really. But if they're solid on all the other fronts of the game, they can still, they're still going to be a playoff team. Because that was the other argument I heard. There's no way that this roster sniffs the playoffs. Come on. I mean, it's with the amount of teams that get into the playoffs, it's almost impossible for the Yankees not to get in. So it's not like they're on the National League side. Then maybe you would have an argument. But in the American League, I don't see that a lot of teams that are so far and above what the Yankees have done that the Yankees aren't going to make the playoffs. I think that's, sometimes I think fans just need to sit back, think. Sometimes what I need to do, think before you speak. Well, think before you type on a computer. There's no ramification.
Yeah, you might spell some words wrong like John the Beagle Dad does, but yeah, But, you want to come at me, John? I'll come right back at you, my friend.
Yeah. But look, the upside, what's to look forward to right now? We have the lefty in our bullpen that we've been wanting all off season. We are increasing our pitching depth.
Oh, Razil, you forgot 2023. Ain't wrong.
That's a good call. Sierra, how's it going?
Hey, why am I wearing good Giants gear? Everything else is in the wash.
There you go. But let's just enjoy the fact that Tim Hill is back like we wanted. So, yeah, and just make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out. Your friends, your family, strangers on the corner. We will be back Friday morning to take on more Yankee chat, and we'll see what else we throw into the discussion as well as the next couple of days progress. So, with that being said, just remember to always wear those pinstripes of pride and play on.